Captain Tom Reed stared at the blinking light on his console aboard the International Space Station. At first, he thought it was just another routine signal from Earth. But this was different. The pattern was unlike anything he had seen in his 15 years of space service. "Houston, are you seeing this?" he asked, his eyes fixed on the strange signal pattern. The response from Mission Control came after an unusually long pause. "Captain, we're picking it up too. Signal origin appears to be..." "Well, sir, you're not going to believe this." Tom leaned forward in his seat. In space, everything that was unbelievable could also be dangerous. "Try me," he said, keeping his voice steady. "The signal is coming from just beyond Neptune's orbit, and it's not one of ours." The words hung in the air of the space station's command module. Tom felt his heart rate quicken, but his training kept him focused. He began running standard protocol checks, even though deep down he knew this situation was anything but standard. That's when the signal changed. The blinking pattern shifted, and suddenly their communication screen lit up with an image that made history. The face on the screen wasn't human. The being had smooth, silvery skin and large, intelligent eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. "People of Earth," the creature spoke in perfect English, though its mouth moved differently than the words they heard. "We are the Stellar Council, and we require your assistance." Tom exchanged glances with his crew members. Their expressions mirrored his own mix of awe and disbelief. First contact with alien life, and they were asking for help. The alien continued, "Our fleet of 300 vessels is stranded in what you call the Kuiper Belt. Our advanced propulsion systems have failed, and we are unable to proceed or return." Mission Control broke in. "Captain, we're confirming multiple large objects in the Kuiper Belt. Satellite data suggests they're artificial structures, massive ones." The alien ambassador's image flickered slightly. "We have been observing your species for some time, studying your development. While we possess technology far beyond your current capabilities, we find ourselves in a situation where that very advancement has become our weakness." Tom listened as the alien explained their fleet's situation. They had been traveling through this sector of space when they encountered a strange nebula. Their quantum drive systems had failed simultaneously, leaving their entire fleet stranded. Their advanced technology, which manipulated quantum fields for propulsion, had become useless in this region of space. "We have attempted all possible solutions available to us," the alien said, its large eyes showing what Tom thought might be embarrassment. "But our technology is too advanced to function in this anomaly. We believe your less advanced methods might be our only hope." The irony wasn't lost on Tom. Here was a civilization capable of crossing galaxies, asking for help from humans who had barely stepped onto their own moon. He thought about the chemical rockets and mechanical systems humans still used, technology the aliens had probably left behind centuries ago. "We will compensate Earth generously for any assistance," the alien added. "And perhaps more importantly, this could mark the beginning of a meaningful relationship between our civilizations." Over the next few hours, the International Space Station became the center of the most important diplomatic discussion in human history. Scientists, military leaders, and government officials from every major nation joined the conversation. The aliens shared more details about their situation, and humans began to realize that their primitive technology might actually be the key to saving an advanced civilization. As Tom coordinated between Earth and the alien fleet, he couldn't help but smile. Humanity had always looked to the stars, dreaming of the day they would prove themselves worthy of joining a larger galactic community. Who could have guessed that their chance would come not through some great technological achievement, but because they had kept some of their simple, reliable methods alongside their advancing technology? The rescue mission would be dangerous. It would push human engineering and courage to their limits. But as Tom looked out the station's window toward the distant point where 300 alien ships waited for help, he knew this was humanity's moment to show the galaxy what they could do. The ancient Chinese proverb came to his mind: "In every crisis lies opportunity." and this crisis might just give humanity the opportunity to prove they belonged among the stars. Dr. Anna Wells hadn't slept in 36 hours, but she couldn't bring herself to rest. Not when she was about to meet actual aliens. The helicopter landed at the newly established First Contact Center in Nevada, kicking up dust across the desert landing pad. She stepped out, clutching her tablet with all her research on theoretical physics. The facility had been built in just 3 days, a testament to how seriously the world was taking the situation. Military personnel and scientists from every major nation rushed around, all focused on the upcoming meeting. "Dr. Wells," a voice called out. She turned to see Captain Tom Reed walking toward her. He had just returned from the International Space Station to lead the ground team. "Glad you made it. The Stellar Council representatives will be landing in an hour." Anna nodded, trying to keep her hands from shaking. "Has anyone figured out why their ship stopped working?" she asked, falling into step beside him as they walked toward the main building. "That's why you're here," Tom replied. "You're the best we have when it comes to understanding how space itself works." Inside the facility's main conference room, screens showed the approaching alien shuttle. Unlike their massive stranded ships, this was a smaller vessel that still had enough power to make the journey to Earth. Its surface gleamed like liquid metal in the morning sun. The room fell silent as the first aliens walked in. The first speaker, as their leader called himself, stood nearly 7 feet tall. His silvery skin seemed to shimmer under the lights, and his movements were graceful despite Earth's gravity being stronger than what he was used to. "We thank you for this welcome," the first speaker said, his words somehow being translated perfectly into English. 2 other aliens followed him, carrying what looked like highly advanced scanning equipment. Anna studied them with fascination. Here was a civilization that had mastered faster than light travel, yet something had rendered their technology useless. The irony wasn't lost on her. They had come to humans, a species that still largely relied on chemical rockets and basic physics for help. "Please," the first speaker continued, "allow us to show you what we face." He placed a small device on the conference table, and suddenly the room was filled with a holographic display of their fleet and the strange nebula that had trapped them. Anna stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her nervousness. "The energy patterns in that nebula," she said, pointing to swirling colors in the hologram, "they're unlike anything we've recorded before." The first speaker nodded. "Our quantum drives rely on manipulating space-time at a fundamental level. But in this region, those manipulations become impossible. It is as if the basic laws of physics we have relied on for centuries have been canceled." That's when Anna noticed something interesting in the data. "Your advanced systems are failing," she said slowly, "but our primitive technology still works there, doesn't it?" The International Space Station's instruments could still read the nebula's energy patterns. The aliens exchanged looks that seemed to show surprise, though it was hard to read their expressions. "Yes," one of them admitted. "We found it curious that your simple radio waves and chemical propulsion systems remain unaffected." Tom stepped forward. "Then that's our way in. We might not have ships that can bend space, but we know how to push through it the old-fashioned way." Anna's mind was already racing with possibilities. The very simplicity of human technology might be its greatest strength in this situation. While the aliens' quantum drives tried to bend the rules of physics, human rockets just pushed against them. And sometimes, pushing was exactly what you needed. "We'll need to study the nebula's effect more closely," she said, her fingers flying over her tablet as she made notes. "But I think we can work with this. We might be able to adapt our existing space engines to work on a larger scale." The first speaker's large eyes seemed to shine with hope. "Then perhaps our misfortune was actually fortune in disguise. We have long watched humanity's progress, curious about your resilience and creativity. Now we may experience it firsthand." As the meeting continued into the night, Anna felt a surge of pride. Humanity might be young in galactic terms, but they had something valuable to offer. Sometimes the old ways, the simple ways, were exactly what was needed. even in the most advanced situations. The enormous hangar buzzed with activity as engineers and scientists worked around the clock. Dr. Anna Wells stood before a massive screen displaying data from the nebula, her eyes red from lack of sleep, but bright with excitement. She had just made a breakthrough that could change everything. "Captain Reed," she called out, waving Tom over to her station. "Look at this." She pointed to a series of readings that showed energy patterns within the mysterious space anomaly. Tom walked over, followed by the first speaker, who had insisted on being present for all major research developments. "What are we looking at?" Tom asked, squinting at the complex graphs. "It's beautiful, really," Anna said, her voice filled with wonder. "The nebula isn't just blocking their quantum technology. It's actively refusing to be manipulated. It's like trying to push two matching poles of a magnet together. The more advanced the technology, the stronger the resistance." The first speaker's silvery face showed what humans had learned to recognize as confusion. "But how does this help us?" Anna smiled. "Because human technology doesn't try to bend space or manipulate quantum fields. We just push through it, like rowing a boat. Simple physics. Action and reaction." She pulled up another screen showing tests they had run on different types of engines. "See here. Our chemical rockets work perfectly in the nebula. Even our most basic ion engines function at full capacity. It's only when we start getting into more advanced propulsion systems that things begin to fail." "So the very thing that makes us seem primitive to you," Tom said to the first speaker, "is exactly what we need right now." The alien leader studied the data carefully. "In all our centuries of space travel, we never considered that advancing too far might sometimes be a disadvantage. We abandoned chemical propulsion so long ago that we barely remember how to use it." Just then, Jack Morris, the lead engineer, rushed into the room. He was carrying what looked like a twisted piece of metal and wire. "Dr. Wells, we just tested your theory on a small scale. Look at this." He placed the device on the table. A miniature rocket engine combined with salvaged parts from an alien probe. "We fired it up in the test chamber filled with nebula particles. The chemical thruster pushes through like normal, and it actually helps stabilize the quantum field enough that some of the alien tech starts working again." Anna picked up the prototype, turning it over in her hands. It was ugly by alien standards, all exposed pipes and welded joints, but it worked. The aliens had been so focused on elegant solutions that they had forgotten sometimes the best answer was the simplest one. "We can scale this up," Jack continued, his hands moving excitedly as he explained. "Use our heavy lift rockets as the base, add modified versions of the alien quantum stabilizers. It won't be pretty, but it should be strong enough to tow the stranded ships out of the nebula." The first speaker watched this exchange with growing interest. More aliens had gathered around now, their large eyes fixed on the primitive but effective human technology. One of them spoke up. "Our civilizations gave up combustion engines thousands of years ago. We fought them beneath us. How fascinating that they might now be our salvation." Tom looked at the growing crowd of humans and aliens working together. Engineers from both species were already sketching out larger versions of the hybrid engine. Scientists shared data and theories, each bringing their own perspective to the problem. "You know what this reminds me of?" he said to Anna. "It's like someone with a fancy electric car getting stuck in the wilderness. Sometimes an old truck with a simple engine is exactly what you need." Anna nodded, watching as human welders and alien technicians began constructing a full-size prototype. "We're going to need a lot more than one old truck to pull this off," she said. "But for the first time, I think we actually have a chance at saving your fleet." The first speaker placed one of his long-fingered hands on the hybrid engine prototype. "Perhaps this is why the universe brought us together," he said thoughtfully. "To remind us that progress is not always about moving forward. Sometimes it is about remembering where you came from." The testing chamber erupted in cheers as the full-size prototype engine roared to life. Jack Morris and Maria Santos, the lead engineers, watched their creation with pride. The hybrid engine was a strange mix of human and alien technology. Sleek quantum stabilizers bolted onto what looked like a massive chemical rocket. "Look at those thrust readings," Maria shouted over the engine's rumble. She pointed to the display screen where numbers kept climbing. "We're getting nearly twice the power we calculated." The first speaker stood behind the safety glass, his silver skin reflecting the blue glow of the engine. "It is primitive," he said, but his tone carried admiration rather than criticism. "Yet I cannot deny its effectiveness." Jack wiped grease from his hands with an old rag. "Sometimes the best solutions aren't the prettiest ones," he said. "Now we just need to figure out how to attach these to your ships without damaging them." The engine test had drawn a crowd. Dr. Anna Wells and Captain Tom Reed stood with a group of military officials and alien engineers, all watching as the hybrid technology performed even better than expected. The aliens seemed particularly fascinated by the exposed machinery and visible moving parts. Their own technology was usually hidden beneath smooth, seamless surfaces. "We'll need at least 50 of these engines," Tom said, looking at the schematics, "and we'll have to train crews to operate them." The alien ships weren't designed to be towed. Maria stepped forward with a holographic display showing her latest designs. "We've solved that problem," she said, manipulating the image to show a new kind of coupling mechanism. "We can use their own shield technology to create a kind of energy bubble around the towing cables. It will protect both ships during the rescue." The first speaker moved closer to examine the hologram. "You plan to use our defensive shields as a cushioning system." He made a sound that humans had learned was their version of laughter. "We would never have thought to use them this way. Our engineers are too traditional in their thinking." Jack pulled up another diagram. "Each human ship will need a crew of 6. 4 to handle the hybrid engine, 1 to manage the shield coupling, and 1 to coordinate with the alien vessel being towed. We've already got volunteers from every space agency on Earth. 250 volunteers in the first hour alone," Tom added. "Everyone wants to be part of this mission." Anna studied the mission timeline displayed on another screen. "The whole operation will take about 2 weeks. We'll need to tow each ship individually, moving them just far enough out of the nebula for their own systems to restart. Our ship's crews are prepared to enter emergency hibernation," the first speaker said. "This will reduce life support requirements during the rescue operation. But what of the danger to your crews? The nebula's effects are still not fully understood." Maria smiled. "That's why we're keeping it simple. If something goes wrong, our ships can fall back on pure chemical propulsion. Sometimes having a backup that runs on explosions and basic physics is exactly what you need." The planning room was filled with both species now, working together to refine the rescue plan. Humans taught aliens about mechanical backup systems and redundancies, while aliens shared knowledge about shield harmonics and space-time dynamics. It was a strange but effective partnership. 2 days until the first rescue ship is ready," Jack announced, checking his tablet. 1 week until we have all 50. The whole world is helping. Every major shipyard and space facility is building engines and parts." Tom looked around the room at humans and aliens working side by side. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone in the universe as far as they knew. Now they were preparing to rescue an advanced alien civilization using technology that combined the best of both worlds. "You know what's funny?" he said to Anna. "All those years we spent trying to catch up to advanced alien civilizations, and it turns out keeping some of our old technology was the smartest thing we could have done." The first speaker overheard this and nodded. "Perhaps true wisdom lies not in abandoning the old ways entirely, but in knowing when they might still serve a purpose." The sky over Cape Canaveral was lit up like daytime as 50 massive rescue ships prepared for launch. Each vessel was larger than anything humans had ever sent into space before, a combination of their biggest rockets and alien technology. The sight was breathtaking. A line of ships stretching into the distance, their hybrid engines gleaming under the floodlights. Commander Bill Parker stood at the front of the mission control room, addressing the gathered crews. "This is what we've trained for," he said, his voice firm and confident. "Each of you knows your role. We're about to make history, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy." In orbit, Captain Tom Reed watched from the International Space Station as the first wave of 10 rescue ships lifted off. The roar of their chemical engines was followed by the strange, silent pulse of alien quantum stabilizers working in harmony with human technology. "First wave is looking good," Tom reported to ground control. "All engine readings are normal. Beginning trajectory calculations for the nebula approach." Dr. Anna Wells monitored the data from her station. The ships looked ungainly, huge chemical rockets with alien technology grafted onto their sides. But they worked. The first speaker stood beside her. Watching the launches with what she had learned was an expression of amazement on his alien features. "Your species continues to surprise us," he said. "In all our simulations, we never imagined you would launch so many ships at once." Anna smiled. "Humans work best under pressure, and we've never been good at doing things slowly." The rescue fleet climbed higher into space, their hybrid engines performing even better than in tests. Each ship carried a crew of 6 humans, working together to control the complex mixture of familiar rocket technology and alien quantum systems. On the lead rescue ship, named Hope 1, Commander Parker's crew prepared for their first rescue attempt. "Target ship in visual range," his pilot announced. It's huge." Through the viewport, they could see their first rescue target, an alien vessel nearly 20 times the size of their ship. Its silver hull stretched out like a small city in space, dark and powerless in the strange light of the nebula. "Beginning approach," Parker said calmly, though his heart was racing. "Maria, how are the shield couplings looking?" Maria Santos, monitoring the alien technology from her station, checked her readings. "Shield harmonics are stable. The aliens were right. Their defensive screens will make perfect cushions for the towing process." The moment of truth came as Hope 1 maneuvered into position. The towing cables, protected by modified alien shields, reached out toward the massive alien vessel. Jack Morris, operating the hybrid engine controls, kept the power steady. "Contact in 3, 2, 1. The cables connected with a flash of energy. Warning lights flashed across the control panel as the rescue ship's engines strained against the enormous mass of the alien vessel. "Engine 1 is running hot," Jack called out, diverting more power to the quantum stabilizers. Parker gripped his chair as the ship shuddered. "Come on," he muttered. "Come on." Slowly, incredibly, the massive alien ship began to move. The hybrid engines roared, human and alien technology working together to accomplish what neither could do alone. Cheers erupted in mission control back on Earth as they watched the first successful tow begin. "It's working," Maria exclaimed, her eyes on the engine readings. "The quantum stabilizers are actually gaining power from the nebula's resistance. The harder it pushes back, the stronger our engines become." As the first alien ship was slowly guided out of the nebula's influence, the rest of the rescue fleet moved into position. Across the vast expanse of space, 49 more human ships prepared to save the stranded alien vessels, one by one. The first speaker watched the operation from Earth, his large eyes reflecting the holographic displays. "In all our centuries of space travel," he said softly, "we have never seen anything quite like this. Your species truly is remarkable." The rescue operation had been running smoothly for 5 days. 150 alien ships had been successfully towed to safety, their systems restarting once they were clear of the nebula's influence. But something was changing. Dr. Anna Wells noticed it first in her readings. "These energy patterns don't make sense," she said, studying the data from the nebula. "It's like it's growing." The first speaker moved to her station, his silver skin reflecting the red warning lights that had just started flashing across her screens. "Impossible," he said. "The nebula is expanding." Before Anna could answer, urgent calls started coming in from the rescue fleet. Commander Bill Parker's voice crackled over the radio from Hope 1. "Control, we've got a situation out here. The nebula's energy field just jumped 500,000 kilometers in seconds. All rescue ships, pull back immediately." Tom Reed ordered from the space station, but it was too late for some of them. 3 human rescue ships were caught in the sudden expansion. Their hybrid engines sparked and sputtered as the nebula's strange energy wrapped around them. Worse still, each was still connected to an alien vessel they were trying to rescue. Hope won to control. Parker's voice was tense but controlled. "We've got 6 human crews trapped out there. Request permission to attempt rescue." There was a moment of silence in mission control. The risk was enormous. Sending more ships into the now unstable nebula could lead to even more losses. But there were 36 people out there, trapped between normal space and whatever the nebula was becoming. "Permission granted," Tom said finally. "But Commander Parker, be careful. We're seeing energy readings off the charts." Parker turned to his crew. "This is volunteer only," he said. "I won't order anyone to." "We're all in," Maria Santos interrupted, already adjusting the shield harmonics. "Jack, can you give us more power to the stabilizers?" Jack Morris nodded, his hands flying over the engine controls. "We're routing everything we've got. The quantum stabilizers are going to be running hot, but they'll hold." Hope 1 plunged back into the nebula, followed by 4 other rescue ships. The view through their windows was like nothing they'd ever seen. Waves of energy rippled through space itself, making the stars behind them dance and blur. There, Parker pointed to a flash of metal through the chaos. One of the trapped ships was visible, its hybrid engine glowing weakly as it tried to pull free of the nebula's grasp. "Shield coupling ready," Maria reported. "But sir, the nebula's interference is much stronger now. We might not have enough power to tow both ships." Parker made a quick decision. "We're not towing them. New plan. We'll form a chain. Each rescue ship connects to the next, combining our engine power. Jack, can the hybrid engines handle that?" Jack's eyes widened as he ran the calculations. "It's never been tested, but the theory is sound. The quantum stabilizers should actually work better when linked together." They had no time to debate. The nebula was still expanding, and the trapped ships were being pulled deeper into the anomaly. Hope 1 moved into position, extending its shield coupling to the nearest trapped ship. The other rescue ships followed, forming a line of human vessels, each connected to the next by modified alien shield technology. When the last connection was made, Parker gave the order. "All ships, full power to engines on my mark." The linked hybrid engines roared to life. The nebula's energy pressed against them like a physical wall, trying to pull them deeper into its mysterious depths. Warning alarms blared as systems were pushed far beyond their design limits. "Quantum stabilizers are overloading," Jack shouted over the noise. "But they're holding. They're actually holding." Inch by inch, the chain of ships began to move. Not just the rescue ships, but the trapped vessels as well, all being pulled free of the nebula's grasp by their combined power. As they watched from Earth, Anna turned to the first speaker. "Did your simulations predict any of this?" she asked. The alien leader shook his head slowly. "We are far beyond predictions now," he said. "We are witnessing something entirely new. The power of human determination combined with technologies never meant to work together. It is remarkable." The last alien ship cleared the edge of the nebula just as the anomaly reached its peak. Commander Bill Parker watched through Hope 1's viewport as the massive vessel's systems came back online, its hull lighting up with a soft blue glow. Behind them, the nebula churned with impossible energies, now covering twice the space it had when the rescue mission began. "Final ship confirmed safe," Parker reported, his voice showing both exhaustion and pride. "All 300 vessels accounted for. Mission complete." Cheers erupted across every radio channel, human and alien alike. In mission control, Dr. Anna Wells hugged Captain Tom Reed, both of them watching the final readings come in. The first speaker stood nearby, his silver skin seeming to glow with emotion. In all our histories, the alien leader said, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room, no species has ever accomplished what humanity has done today. You saved not just our ships, but our entire expedition, over 1 million lives. Jack Morris and Maria Santos, still at their stations on Hope 1, began powering down the hybrid engines for the last time. The strange combination of human and alien technology had performed beyond anyone's expectations, proving that sometimes the best solutions came from combining the old with the new. The Stellar Council has reached a decision, the first speaker continued. Earth was not scheduled for contact with the galactic community for another 50 years. We believed you needed more time to develop. We were wrong. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of mission control. It showed hundreds of worlds, all part of the vast network of civilizations that humanity had never known existed until now. Your planet will be offered immediate membership in the Stellar Council, he announced. Not because of your technology level, but because you have demonstrated something far more valuable: innovation, courage, and the wisdom to preserve knowledge that others might consider obsolete. Parker's crew gathered around their own view screen as the first speaker continued. Furthermore, we request permission to study your hybrid engine design. It seems we have much to learn about the value of maintaining simpler, reliable systems alongside our advanced technology. Tom stepped forward. You want to learn from us, but your civilization is thousands of years ahead of ours. The first speaker made the sound they now recognize as laughter. Are we? In some ways, perhaps, but you possess something we have forgotten: the ability to solve problems without relying solely on advanced technology. Your species thinks differently. You see solutions where we see only obstacles. Anna looked at the data one last time. The nebula's energy readings are stabilizing, she reported. But it's still growing. We should mark this whole sector as a navigation hazard. Already done, the first speaker said. And we have begun searching for other such anomalies throughout known space. Perhaps there are more places where the most advanced solution is not always the best solution. The rescue fleet began their journey home, their hybrid engines now a symbol of what humanity and aliens could achieve together. As they approached Earth, ships from every nation on the planet rose to meet them, escorting the heroes back to their world. You know what this reminds me of? Parker said to his crew as they watched the welcome fleet approach. It's like that old story about the space pen and the pencil. Sometimes the simple answer is the right answer. In the days that followed, celebrations broke out across Earth. Humanity had not only made first contact, but had earned the respect of an advanced civilization. The sight of human and alien ships floating together in orbit became a symbol of a new era. The first speaker's final message was broadcast to every corner of the planet. We came to your world believing we needed to save our fleet. Instead, you saved us. And in doing so, you taught us that true advancement comes not from abandoning the past, but from building upon it. Welcome to the stars, humanity. We have much to learn from each other. As night fell over mission control, Anna looked up at the stars with new eyes. They weren't just distant lights anymore. They were doorways to a future where humanity's unique approach to problems might help solve challenges across the galaxy. Sometimes, it turned out, the best way forward was to remember where you came from.